Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, as always. Today, I'm starting to tackle some of your Q&A questions. So first of all, thank you all so much for bringing up some really neat questions. I'm trying to kind of group them into themes, although it's just not limited to that because there's a lot of questions. So today, we're going to start by talking about kind of more galactic-based questions, which I thought was a really cool start considering we've had such a neat galactic theme the last little while. So why not follow that theme? So the first question that I had here was, um, you mentioned Lightworker and Starseed. Can you elaborate on what those are and how do we know if we are one? It's a great question. So if you look around or you Google, there's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions about what Lightworker and Starseed are. And all I can do is add my own opinion to what that is as well. So I really would recommend that you take what resonates for you in all that you read and stick with what feels right for you, right? So Starseed is considered to be, and I believe it to be too, somebody that is on planet here that isn't usually on planet Earth, that they have maybe had predominantly more lives in a different planet, different star system than this one. So Earth to them is a little bit newer. They're not like an old Earth soul. And there are some people that they have had many starseed lives and also many human lives. So there's quite a balance in them. But then there's some people that have had so many starseed lives that coming to Earth feels very, very foreign, like very foreign to them. Not in the way they look, but in the way everything about Earth feels. So you might know your starseed, or you might feel like you are if you have always kind of looked at the way things are done on Earth and kind of wondered why. Asked questions why. Why are things this way? Why are schools created the way in which they are? Why is there a certain level of domination that we see in, say, politics or government or, questioning the why of the way society is built? And if it doesn't, it just doesn't quite make sense to you, right? Even maybe the big discrepancy between masculine and feminine balance in, say, the workplace or in what's expected of each other, and maybe even how we raise children, how, we raise children so much more independently now than in big groupings and stuff. Again, if you are somebody that has always questioned all these things, it could very well be that you are a starseed and this is one of your first few lives here on Earth and you're getting to know something that is very different. For some people, it may feel a lot more dense being in a human body and you've never been able to explain why. It just feels more dense and heavy and different and restrictive, things like that. Often that can mean that you're a starseed, right? So you are used to somewhere else that has a higher frequency, maybe a more balanced society, maybe just a very different way of doing things or of seeing how something should be done, maybe different sort of sacred practices that seem very normal to you would seem really weird here, and vice versa. So it's just this feeling of it being very different. Now, a light worker, we could say, would be more somebody that is here that is likely predominantly human-based, human lifetime. So, what I mean by that is sometimes when we split off from source, from God, from Creator, we then take on sort of a soul grouping in a certain place where we sort of originate from. Maybe it's like our second origin, right? Come from source, second origin, say is in the Pleiades star system, right? Therefore, you would likely be a Pleiadian starseed. Whereas others, instead of going to the Pleiades star system, decided to come to Earth. So if we look at the huge picture, whether you're from Earth or anywhere else, you're technically a starseed. But if we're looking from the perspective of Earth, if you've been here most of your lives, then you are more like an Earthling. But you're an Earthling with a lot of light consciousness. And so what you're doing is you're working to bring this light into this reality through all of your experiences on Earth. And the wisdom that you carry, having lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime on Earth, is really significant. It's as important as the wisdom that comes from a starseed. And it actually requires both to help make this whole transformation that we're having happen on our planet right now. So they are often, though, light workers often applied to the concept of a star seed too. So in a sense, it really doesn't actually matter, right? What matters though is that you recognize that light within you and that desire to be working within your highest alignment and that desire to help humanity grow and evolve and that desire to break down limitations that are holding us in old energy. Whether you're doing that from a light worker perspective or a starseed perspective, it really is one and the same. And again, like I said, there are lots of people here that have had a big mix of both experiences of human lives and starseed lives. So it's really neat. What is most noticeable though is when someone comes from a very, very, very high frequency, say more from like the angelic realm, and they come into an experience on a human in a human body, they tend to have the hardest time acclimating to the density of being human because their spirit, their soul energy vibrates so high, and the density of being in 3D and having a 3D based carbon body is so counterintuitive to them that often they have a lot of issues being here. It's a really tough surrender to being here. But those people that come from those higher realms come here for such a big purpose, usually very big change makers in some form, whether it's out front in front of a lot of people or it's kind of in the background. You know, those divine people that I could use this sort of imagine this idea. You have somebody who just moves from place to place to place, and they're always just sort of following the flow of who they are. And they happen to run into the right people at the right time to say the right thing for a certain amount of time, and then they carry on their journey, right? That's kind of this energy of like a higher vibrational being in the earth body that can't quite stick to the rigidity of human life, so has to be moving fluid through it to drop their light where they can. So, I mean, it's a great question. So, how do you know which one you are? If you want to know which one you are, I would really tune into your own energies and notice what are you drawn to. Oftentimes, people that are really drawn to look at the stars, stare at the sky, talk to the moon, they want to know the astrology. Oftentimes, not always, they are really connected to their starseed origins that are off planet. Other times, people feel a really strong connection to certain ancestry on the planet here. Again, you could still have been a star seed, had several lives here in different ancestry, and still feel drawn to it, right? So that's why it's hard to say. But maybe you feel a really strong lineage connection to somewhere in Europe or maybe somewhere in Asia. Again, that'll often describe some of your origins or the path to it. So if you really wanted to know, past life regression, spiritual hypnosis can often bring those answers as well as connecting into the Akashic records. I know sometimes mediums can bring through that information too, but the Akashic records would definitely have your soul information and you could definitely access it in past life regression. So something to consider, but a very, very good question. So thank you for asking that. Okay, the next one is, Ginette talks to her guides from the Pleiades or the Arcturians, etc. These beings are all not from Earth. Do we have human lives and then off-planet lives? Like, okay, last time I was this kind of being, next time I'll be this kind, and I'll bring all of my soul family with me. Thank you for your clarifying. Thanks for your clarifying question. So this is a great question. So kind of it really follows what I was talking about before. There are many reasons why we choose different incarnations in different places, and it all depends on what your soul and your council deems is the best next step for your soul evolution, right? So, like when I talked about when I had my NDE and we sat at this big boardroom table, rolled out my blueprints, talked about everything that I'd done, I realized I had helped create those blueprints in the first place before coming to this planet. So when it was time for my soul to have another incarnation, and I sat down with my guides and we basically had this discussion of what do I want to do? What do I want to learn? What do I want to affect? Where would that best take place? Earth is a great place for me to come. I know I've been here many times before, but I also know I've been many times in different star systems. It really is this opportunity to choose what is the next best thing. When people talk about the karmic loop that keeps them stuck on the planet, there's a lot of people that talk about like planet Earth is this soul-sucking karmic loop that you get trapped here. It's not so much about being trapped here, it's more the understanding of when you cross over and you look at what you did in your life, you have your life review, oftentimes souls want to make amends for something. And so instead of choosing their next life where maybe they would have progressed to, say, the Sirius star system, they're like, no, you know what? I'd like to come back again with these different soul family members and try again to see if I can make amends for this or learn something different in this. So it's less about being trapped and it's more about consciously deciding, which is really interesting, right? So we do get a say in where we want to go. We do discuss it. Um, I have in readings had sometimes where some souls have come in too early after passing, and they talk about how, maybe they should have taken more time to think about it, which is why usually we sit with our counsel on the other side, discuss what our blueprint will be before we come in. We don't rush it, because sometimes when we rush it, we don't make the right decision. So yeah, it's constantly this evolution. We are connected to all things, not just planet Earth, which is why it's so important that we begin to really raise our consciousness into this galactic level of awareness so we can start remembering our connections to different places and different lifetimes. It's really fascinating. So, wonderful question. All right, the next one, which kind of follows again. So, when a spirit is incarnated into a new physical being, do they still have the same spiritual connection with the loved ones from their past? I'd love to hear more about how spirit evolves through multiple lives. That's a great question. So, kind of like I was saying in the last question, sometimes a soul will choose to reincarnate again with certain soul families, soul groupings, or even people that they met in different lifetimes to either remedy something, balance something out, learn something more, do another lifetime with them. But even if not all of those souls reincarnate, we do still have a spiritual connection with the loved ones from past lives. Because here's the thing, this is what was so neat. When I had my NDE and I crossed over, and I remember being in that kind of picnic area where lots of souls from this lifetime were connecting with me again, and hugs and laughter. And I remember saying, like, how are you? What have you been doing? And I could see all of these souls walking forward. And I knew some of them were from this life, but some were from past lives. Many were from past lives. And when I spoke to each of them, it's like no time had passed. It's like those, those really good friends of yours that you can go a long time without talking, but when you get together again, you just pick up where you left off. It was like that. And so there was still this connection, but this lifetime that I was having didn't require them in there. But it doesn't mean they weren't there to greet me when I crossed over. So we definitely do keep connections with our loved ones from past lives. Sometimes they're entwined again in our next incarnations together. Sometimes that past loved one may choose to act as a guide while you're incarnated and vice versa. And other times you might go on to live different lives in different places, but then you come back together again when you cross over. It's just amazing how that works. So I think that's a wonderful question. Thank you for asking. Okay, and the last question for today is, okay, my curiosity question is, what can your guides share with us about astral traveling? Is our soul traveling in a different dimension when we do this, or is it something else? This unintentionally happened to me where I instantly traveled hundreds of miles and felt, heard, and saw everything someone was experiencing. It was really beautiful. I don't have a spiritual teacher to ask, so just reaching online to try and figure out what happened. If your guides are open to answering, I'd be grateful to hear. So, we can, astral traveling is so cool because the more that we practice it, the more we can be very conscious in the experience. And like you said, see, hear, and feel everything. And what's beautiful is the astral body is not limited to time and space, geographical time and space, and even dimensional time and space. So your astral body can absolutely travel to different dimensions, to different times in space, different places on this planet, different times on this planet, past or future, even sometimes parallel. It's quite vast. Like The human body needs a linear progression, right? We grow, we age, we pass on. The soul can move in any direction. It's kind of like on a chessboard. What is it? The king or the queen can move in any direction. It doesn't have to just go one way. It's like that. So, absolutely, you can be in different dimensions, places, timelines with different people. It's quite amazing, which is why there's such a reawakening to the concept of astral traveling and lucid dreaming and all of that, so that we reconnect into the unlimited nature of our being. And it's really quite fascinating. So there are lots of books on astral travel. There's lots of documentaries on it and stuff too. Lots of meditations to guide you into that as well. So lots to be said for it. So fantastic question. All right, everyone, that's everything I have for today. So you can still add your questions to the posts that I did either on YouTube or on Instagram or Facebook as well. Anytime, that's no problem. And I look forward to bringing through more. So thanks again. And I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your week. And I'll see you next week.